Greetings. I'm Michael Boriskin, Artistic and Executive Director of Copland House, sitting at Aaron Copland's work desk in his studio. I'm delighted to welcome you to Cultivated Spaces, the name we've given to this series of virtual premieres of new works we commissioned for our Cultivate 2020 Emerging Composers Institute, which took place online because of the pandemic. Cultivate is a week-long creative workshop and mentoring program where these newly written works go through an intensive week-long process of refinement, exploration, experimentation, and polishing with Cultivate's director, the two-time Grammy-nominated composer clarinetist Derek Bermel, and our Music from Copland House ensemble. These pieces are all then premiered in public concerts, but for the 2020 installment, those first performances are taking place here now. Each of these programs spotlights one of our terrific 2020 fellows, and we're delighted to have I Care If You Listen, powered by the American Composers Forum, as our exclusive media partner. Today's program features Shuying Li and the dynamic piece that she wrote for us called Bloodlines, which seems to ride the very thin line between passion and horror. This Bloodlines paraphrase, as Shuying calls it, was drawn from the eponymous opera she wrote with Lila Palmer under the auspices of the American Lyric Theater. Shuying's going to speak a bit about the piece before we hear a complete performance by Music from Copland House. Then please stay with us after that because she'll be back to chat with Derek. Our performers are clarinetist Moran Katz, a violinist Paula Garcia, cellist Alexis Pia Gerlach, and pianist Margaret Kampmeier. So please enjoy the music, and here's Shuying.
Hi everyone, my name is Shuying Li. I am a composer. Originally from China, I've made a zigzagging journey in the past 10 years across the states, living on the East Coast, then Michigan, and then back to the East Coast, and finally Washington State, where I moved just last year. I write for all kinds of genres like chamber music, wind ensemble, orchestra, opera, and so on. I am currently the assistant professor of composition and music theory at the Gonzaga University. And I'm also the artistic director of the contemporary chamber group, the Four Corners Ensemble. It is a great honor to be presenting my work, Bloodlines Paraphrase, written for the Copland House Ensemble on this platform. In short, this piece was a paraphrase from my opera, Bloodlines, which I created under the auspices of the American Lyric Theater Composer Librettist Development Program with librettist Lila Palmer in 2018. It is an astonishing story of a loving couple discovering that they are actually blood-related siblings adopted from the conflict zones years ago. And in this paraphrase version, I have taken the second scene in the opera and freely transcribed it into a chamber piece. It depicts the disagreements between the wife, Esme, and her boss, Sarah, and how Esme eventually found out this shocking secret and ran out of Sarah's office in panic. Well, I hope you will enjoy this instrumental version of explosive drama. Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. I'm Derek Bermel, the program director for Cultivate at the Copland House, and I'm very excited to be joined here by Shuying Li, the composer of Bloodlines, which you just heard, this clarinet quartet. Welcome, Shuying.
Thank you for having me, Derek.
Yeah, it was just wonderful to hear that piece again. It's such an exciting kind of narrative piece that just bursts with energy, and Uh, your idea of this piece came from opera, and also from a kind of has a parallel with some Chinese folk tales. Can you how does that work for you when you think about opera? Are the instruments playing different characters, or how do you see that?
Yeah, that was not and very easy task when I start to think about kind of transcribing my one original scene from the opera to this total, instrumental edition. But what I really wanted to capture is this overall, as you said, this energy and this dramatic elements of the original scene into the acoustic instruments. So I was not really trying to specify any instrument as certain character, but it was a more overall and general, yeah, kind of translation.
How do you approach composing? I mean, how do you sit down and write a piece like this? What do you focus on, and how do you create the structure of a piece like this?
I mean, my common practice with planning a piece would involve lots of random sketching and graphics as a representation of structuring planning for the entire uh, piece. Um, However, when I was writing this piece particularly, it was a pretty different process because it's vocal, it's opera, and lots of the ideas are or have already been dictated by the libretto and the plot line. So I sort of couldn't really just do it as originally usually my usual way of sketching things beforehand. So I kind of trusted my ears and inner hearing a lot more in this process. But of course, when after I finished this opera and started to try to transcribe this into this instrumental paraphrase version, I tried to do some structuring as I would usually do. I found those steps usually very helpful for me to get step back, zoom out a little bit, and get the bigger picture before getting into the little details.
Right. So what you were doing was really taking a lot of material that you'd come up with in a different context and trying to remake it into a piece of kind of absolute music. Uh,
Yeah, there's definitely this dilemma of without the lyrics and the performance of the singer present representing all those plot lines, how I can still um, get this drama going. And as you said, the absolute music, it has certain its own trajectory, its own life.
Sure, because instruments, they have their own way of being expressive, and of course, the voice gives and the words give very specific power to a phrase. But then when those aren't there, you almost have something completely different to deal with. A little bit like a composer when they're taking an opera and making an overture to that opera, which has no words.
Yeah.
They're taking a lot of the thematic material, and in a way, this is almost like an overture.
Yeah, definitely. This is the most dramatic scene in the opera, so um, it kind of summarizes this overall vibe and
So
atmosphere.
So with this process with Cultivate, you had the opportunity to revisit some of your ideas and rewrite during the week. And as I remember, you took very careful advantage of that to workshop certain sections, and you'd come in with a newly written score and say, okay, can we try this way?
Yes.
The players would adjust. So tell us a little bit about that process.
Sure. I thought that was really helpful week for me to really adjust my mindset from the instruments being the accompaniment to the major roles of contributing to this the whole structure and each every element of this piece. I remember when I first dived in, I still have this tendency to keep those instruments as um, accompaniment, assigning, each of them sometimes the vocal line and just, pretty strictly transcribing things in that way. But later I discovered now without the voice, they should be able to have those, spotlight to shine on their own. And then, instrumental writing is very different from vocal writing. It's the way you utilize those instruments, within those two different contexts. So that 1 week experience was very helpful in terms of me trying things, workshopping just adjusting from that context into that context was really helpful for sure.
Well, there's some beautiful lyrical writing in this, which I really do think that you made the instruments shine. Um,
Thank you.
what you know, you're also at the same time as you were in this program, you're also starting to teach in Washington State. So do you get anything as a composer? Do you get anything through teaching that adds to your own creativity? Does it help you analyze your own process?
I would say teaching compositions is definitely a very inspiring process. Um, Again, this around that time I started to get all those orientations. That was the time I started officially to teach. So now it's been a few months. I just discovered working with my composition students. Lots of them are, freshmen, just really fresh out of high school. They have all those creativity and ideas, and then the soundscape they're imagining. And I found really inspiring to work with them, try to realize their sound world onto the paper. You know, helping them with the techniques. So in the way, I think it kind of got me to start to think about my own piece at the same time, because during the day you help them come up with ideas and polish those ideas and realize those ideas, and then at the night, all those things we've been talking about um, are not gonna get wasted. I still have all those ideas, so that was a fantastic aspect of teaching composition.
Wow. Yeah. Well, so are you going to be there during the pandemic? I mean, what's in store for you? What's next?
Yeah, I mean, I started this as a tenure track position, so I imagine I will be here for the time being. The next step, I am working on this other opera with librettist Julianne Crouch. That was partially supported by, sponsored by the Shanghai Conservatory of Music. So I'm supposed to go back as soon as this pandemic ends. Another very exciting thing in store for me is um, I so the Boston Modern Orchestra project. We've just signed a contract. They will record 4 or 5 of my orchestra pieces for a release. Hopefully that would happen, sometime soon. We still don't have a date yet. Yeah,
Wow. Well, Beam Up is a fantastic orchestra, so I know that that will be a great experience for you, and and we'll be excited to hear that when that comes out. That's a very exciting thing for you. So,
thank you.
congratulations on all the opportunities and everything that's coming up for you. And thanks so much for joining us and being part of this. I want to tell our audience that next week we're going to hear Baldwin Zhang's piece "To Be Alone with You." And so we're going to be talking with Baldwin about his piece next week. So please join us for that in this video series with the American Composers Forum. Thank you so much, Shuying,
Thank
for
you so
sharing your
much.
ideas and your process so we know a little bit more about how you work.
Thank you, Derek.